2026 is set to be a fascinating year in the chess world. At the top of the list, we have the Candidates Tournament that takes place at the end of March and through into April. And of course, that means there's going to be a World Championship match at the end of 2026 as well. And, leading up to the candidates, of course, all eyes are on the participants to see what tournaments they're playing, what kind of form they're in. And we have the Tata Steel Masters coming up very soon, starts next week, with 4 of the candidates who are playing. We have Giri, Pragyananda, Sindarov and Matthias Bluebaum. And in fact, Matthias Bluebaum is having a little warm-up for the Tata Steel Masters by playing in the German Bundesliga. That's the German National League, which is always very well attended, always attracts very strong players. So I want to show you a game that Matthias Bluebaum played yesterday, Saturday. And I think it's really instructive. Just a reminder, Matthias Bluebaum qualified by coming second in the FIDE Grand Swiss tournament in Samarkand. He's been European individual champion in 2022 and 2025. He has a master's in mathematics. In fact, he's only completed that last year. So, he's used to studying, and, I think that comes out in his chess as well. He's very well prepared, studious, and he is so gritty at the chessboard. But he's also got an attacking flair as well. So let's take a look at this game. He's playing against Alexander Indjic from Serbia, who actually was European individual champion in 2024. So that's a nice little matchup. The champion from 2025 against the champion from 2024. Matthias Bluebaum playing white, and he opens with d4. d6, that's an invitation to go into some e4 openings, but Bluebaum sticks to knight f3, and very quickly we go into a King's Indian. But not the normal King's Indian, so castles would be the standard move here, but Indjic goes for bishop g4, which he's played before. It's a little speciality of his. Bluebaum played bishop e3 here, but before we do that, let's have a quick look at what Indjic's plan is. So if bishop e2, then he likes to exchange on f3, play e5, white locks the position with d5, so this typical King's Indian structure. But now that the position is closed, h5, and bishop h6. So this is the idea. Black is playing in a very positional way, exchanging off the so-called bad bishop with bishop h6. So not going for the traditional King's Indian idea of throwing the kingside pawns forward, the f-pawn forward, but instead looking to play on the queen side, controlling the c5 square. Okay, that's normal King's Indian strategy, but you go with c6. So it's a very strategic way of playing, actually. But instead of bishop e2, we have bishop e3 from Bluebaum, knight d7, bishop e2, and now Indjic goes for exactly the same plan with e5. But Bluebaum doesn't play along with the idea. So if d5, then we're back to this idea again. But instead of that, Bluebaum decides to open the position. So when you have the bishops, then of course that's good strategy. D takes e5. Now normally in the King's Indian, when white makes this exchange on e5, then you want to recapture with the pawn and then try to bring one of these knights to d4, but that's very difficult to do in this position. I mean, one thing is that white could take the initiative straight away with g4, looking to squeeze black with g5. You could also play queen b3, And then castles queenside, also very interesting. But it's difficult for black to bring a knight to d4 in this position. And yeah, this idea with g4, g5 is always in the air. You know, giving the bishops even more room, basically. Indjic decided to play knight takes e5. So hits this pawn here and the bishop. So the bishop dropped back out of range of the knight and protects the pawn. Knight d7, so that preempts f4, which comes anyway. And bishop f3. So Bluebaum has a huge centre. And that's risky. Comes with great responsibility. You know, if black breaks through, then all the squares behind the pawns are weakened. So if you play in this manner, you really have to be very careful with white. So rook e8. So that starts to set up potentially some tactics on the e file. Castles. At the moment, everything is protected. And it's possible that white will want to play g4, g5 just to push the knights back. This is the key in this position. Controlling the knights when you have the bishops. So Indjic decides to play h5. So prevents g4. But also maybe looks to play knight g4, and that starts to open things up. So therefore h3, good move. And you know, maybe this will come later anyway, g4, g5 to squash the knights. And this is a difficult position for black. How do you break out? You know, at the moment, black's pieces sit behind the first three ranks. I mean, you would like to play c6 and maybe bring the queen out, bring the rook into the middle. And yeah, c6 takes away the knight square on d5. But how do you achieve that? It's very difficult already. Indjic played bishop f8, not a happy move. Presumably looking to guard the d6 square and, you know, then play c6. But you know, going backwards like that in this position, not great. Queen b3, good move. Hits b7. b6. But that rather weakens squares, these squares. a6, c6. I mean, it's possible to play e5 here. But in fact, after rook b8, there's an annoying pin on the e file. But Bluebaum plays very responsibly. He plays queen a4, and looking at that really nice c6 square. So black hasn't been able to get in c6, and those light squares just look really, really vulnerable. Rook b8. It's actually possible to take the pawn, but Bluebaum decides, don't want to get my hands dirty, just play a sensible move, rook d1, and that's very uncomfortable for black. Bishop h6, okay, looking perhaps to, well, pinning here. Rook e1 protects the bishop. I mean, white's position is just wonderful. You've just got to keep black bottled in here, and something will happen, basically, sooner or later. Knight c5, hits the queen, rook drop back, queen e7. And this is an interesting moment. So pressure starting to build on e4. You can't drop the bishop back because f4 hangs. But this was clearly prepared, and b4 played. So this is where you have to calculate. What happens on knight takes e4? Well, in fact, white pins and wins, just dropping the bishop back. And you can see there's a pin here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces attacking, and only 3 defending. White will win material. So after b4, that meant that the knight had to drop back. So knight e6 hits this pawn, queen c1 protects the pawn. So white is holding the centre together, that's the important thing. And knight d7. Well, that's quite a risky move, but black is in big trouble already. Okay, time for me to have a drink, time for you to have a think. Cheers, I'll see you after this message. Tired of playing bots that either crush you or make silly blunders? Noctie is a chess AI that plays like a real opponent at your own level. Noctie is designed for practice. Just pick your opening and start playing, or let Noctie decide. You get instant colour feedback and puzzles based on your mistakes. Set up any endgame position and prove that you know the technique. Learning through gameplay is so effective. Try it out with Noctie. PowerPlay viewers can receive a 20% discount on Noctie's yearly membership if you click the link in the video description and enter the discount code PowerPlayChess. Right, let's get back to the game. What did Bluebaum play? Well, there's a couple of very inviting moves. I mean, knight d5 doesn't look bad, but he broke with e5. The tactics work in his favour. And in particular that bishop. Look at that bishop opening up. And, you know, earlier the queen coming to b3 softened up those light squares, you know, provoking b6, and that means the c6 square is available for white. So the game went like this. D takes e5, bishop c6, and again this is another pin. This is very nasty. So that had to be defended. Rook d8 steps out of the pin, but knight d5, oof, that's a nasty one. And after queen f8, yeah, queen h4 will be hit by bishop f2. So queen f8, and now it's really simple. Bishop takes knight, of course. If that's taken, knight f6 check. Forking and winning material. So e takes f4 played. Bishop drop back. f3, okay, be careful. There's an attack here, but the queen just moved away. Bishop g7. And white is just a piece up. Bishop takes knight. And white is even breaking through on the king side. I mean, this is absolutely horrible. And that position, understandably, as black was a whole piece down, he resigned. There's too much going on there, and white still dominates. So a really convincing victory by Matthias Bluebaum against a strong opponent. He made it look simple. If we just look at some key moves here. So e5, he didn't play along with Indjic's strategy and go for d5. Instead, he kept the position open. And those bishops are incredibly important. And at this moment, it's very important to take away squares from the knights. If you play with pawns in the middle like this, you have to be so careful. But, you know, after a few moves, it was quite clear that Bluebaum could hold those pawns in the middle. And then, yes, this tactical blow with e5 was absolutely crushing. Excellent victory, and I look forward to seeing Matthias Bluebaum at the Tata Steel Masters. And that starts on Friday. Should be a fantastic tournament. Look out for it. And of course, I'll be trying to do as many recordings as possible featuring the players who are going to be in the candidates. Thanks for watching.